picked up this fabric to make this project, and I think I got it from Joann's, and I needed the help of this old pattern that I made in a previous video. I had to change it up a little bit for this project, and so I'm tracing the side measurements here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark down a middle, and instead I'm going to make more of a scooping neckline instead of the sweetheart shape that I had made previously, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. So we're going to cut that out, and then we are going to even it out just to make sure everything's nice and clean. Now here's the difference, just in case you're wondering. Now for the side piece, what we're going to do is you're going to want to make this shape. It's going to take some adjusting. Mine is about 7 inches long. You're going to want to measure from the middle of your bust to your side. So for me that's about 7 inches. And then the back pieces should be the remaining length of your bust measurements, and they should be the same height as the side panel. And now we are going to take these and we are going to cut them out. Now I'm going to be cutting this out on fold just because it'll make it a lot easier to cut out. It'll conserve a lot more fabric. And so I'm going to pin these all against the fold. Now for the middle piece, I actually just want one piece cut out, and for the others I will be cutting out 2 pieces. I'll be separating them just to make sure I have those 2 pieces. For the middle piece, it is necessary to cut on fold. Meanwhile, these side pieces aren't, but it's just easier to make sure you're going to have a nice symmetrical look if you do them at the same time. Now here they are all cut out, and what you're going to do is you're going to want to take them, place them on top of each other, right sides together, and we are going to try to line these up the best that we can so that we can go ahead and pin them down and take them to the sewing machine. So you're going to want to try to pin that top first just to make sure it's even, and then you can go down the entire thing and pin it. This is going to take a little bit of adjusting because these are both round pieces and they're both flat pieces of fabric that are going to make a round form, and so you're going to want to make sure there's as little rippling as possible, but you're going to keep adjusting. Here's how mine looks. You're just going to take this to the sewing machine and do 1 straight stitch all the way down. You're going to want to go all the way around with the piece that you're sewing because the stitches that you're making will determine the shape and the form of the project. So go slow and try to keep it neat. Now you're going to want to go ahead and try your piece on just to make sure you're satisfied with it. Make sure there aren't any weird gaps or anything. Mine looks pretty good, so I think I'm going to go ahead and leave it, but this would be the time to make some adjustment. Now here's how this looks laying flat, and we are going to attach the back panels the same way we attach the side panels. So we're just going to put them on right sides together, and we're going to sew down just like we did with the side panels. Alright, and now here is a full and complete bodice, all sewn together, and now that you have made one bodice, you're going to go ahead and make another bodice, repeating all the same steps that you did to make the first one. This will be your lining piece. And so now before we connect the 2 lining pieces, we're going to need to make a strap. And so I am cutting out a very long strip of fabric, about 1 inch wide, and I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm just going to sew down the half that I folded. And so I am just going to sew all the way down, turn it inside out, and then take it to the side. And now we are going to pin the bodices right sides together, and so we're going to pin along the top. You're going to want to start at the peaks at the round points and then adjust along the way just to get it even. And now you're going to unpin the peaks and you're going to tuck in the strap to the very top on both pieces. And now you're going to tuck in the strap at both peaks of the bodice, so with only a little bit sticking out, because remember these are the wrong sides that are facing out. And so here is it all sewn together with the straps facing outward. So the right sides are facing outwards now. It has all been flipped out. And now we're going to go ahead and start on the skirt. Making the skirt is very similar to the Brandy Melville skirt tutorial I have on this channel. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to take the measurement of the front of our waist, so about half of our waist measurements, and we're going to measure it out onto a piece of fabric, and then we're going to draw a straight line down the middle. And then so we are going to go down this line down the middle about 8 or 7 or 8 inches, and we are going to have half of our hip measurement measured out. And so I'm going ahead and I'm putting 16 inches across onto this fabric because I have a 32-inch waist. And so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to connect the waist and the hip measurements in a little bell shape. And then I'm going to try to even it out, make it nice and straight and clean. Then I'm going to go ahead and repeat that step on the other side. Be sure to add seam allowance. And now we're going to go ahead and we are going to cut that out. Okay, mine came out a little uneven, and so what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to pin it together with a fold right down the center, have that fold right on the center line that we drew. And now first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pin it down just to make sure it doesn't shift while I'm And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the excess just to make sure I have one even skirt panel piece. Now I'm going to open it up, and there you go. There is your front panel piece. And now I'm going to take that panel piece and I'm going to pin it down to my other fabric. And I'm going to cut it out just so that I have two front panel pieces. And then I'm going to sew those together right sides together with a straight stitch across the top and on down the sides. And here we have it all sewn down, and so I'm going to flip it inside out after I sewn down the top and the sides. And now you're going to have to take a little bit of time with it to flip this out inside out because we have that little straight chunk and then we have a round chunk, and so you're really going to want to push all of it out just to make sure it has the right shape. And now that I have the front panel all done, I'm going to take that and I'm going to trace it so I can get started in the construction of the back panels. Now that I have that all cut out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out another midline just to make sure that I can keep all my measurements even and accurate. And I'm really darkening that line just to make sure that you guys can see. And now I'm going to go from the center and I'm going to measure out 1 inch of seam allowance for the extra panel because we will be cutting down the middle of the back panel. And so we are going to need the extra seam allowance for when we attach those two panels together from the middle and when we attach these two panels to the front. Alright, so I've gone ahead and I've folded this in half and I've traced it out and cut out an additional back panel, and I'm going to go ahead and cut both those back panels in half down the middle. And so that way, right now I have 2 back panels and I'm going to end up with 4 that I can sew together like I did the front panel, and then I'll end up with 2 back panels. I know it's very confusing, but you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to unpin those. And so I have those two already attached together, but as you can see, they separate and then they will be sewn together. And so these ones are pinned together and I am going to sew down across the sides and the top. And so here they are all sewn down. I'm flipping them inside out for you. And again, it's going to take a little bit because of the weird shape that they are, but here are the back panels, essentially the same way that you make the front panels, just cut in half. So now here we have our front panel and our 2 back panels. And how we're going to attach these is we are just going to put them right sides together, and then we are going to pin them together at the sides. So we are just going to put these together, right sides together, and then we're going to go sew down with a straight stitch across the sides. And we're also going to want to trim our top here. For me, I trimmed mine to be about 7 inches, and then after sewing the panels together, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew the top half of the dress to the bottom half of the dress. And I didn't realize I had such a long top part initially, but I went back and I looked at the dress, and part of the allure is how short that top bodice part is, so I cut mine. And you're going to want to pin this together with the front centers matching. And so I measured out the middle of each center panel, and that's what I lined up, and that is what's going to be best to get your dress nice and even. And now here's how it should look, right sides facing together. You're just going to do one straight stitch across, and here's the dress all stitched together. And now we're obviously not done yet, and so now we still need a way to get in and get out of this dress. Obviously it's not a dress yet, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this in half with the wrong sides facing out, and I'm going to line everything up in the back here, and I'm going to sew up to the point in which I want my zipper to stop. And so I'm going to keep pinning the back together, and I'm just going to get rid of the top of the bodice here. I don't need all that excess, and I'm going to measure out my zipper and see just about where I want it to stop. So I want it to stop about there, so I went ahead and sewed over it to have a new zipper stopper. I measured it against the dress again, just so I made sure my pins were all nice and even, and then I'm going to go ahead and sew this piece down. Now once I have that piece sewn down and put together, I'm going to pin the zipper to the back in the opening that is still left open, with the teeth facing the right side of the fabric. I know it's hard to see here, but I'm stitching the entire zipper with the right sides, with the teeth facing the right sides. Here's how that looks. I'm going to go ahead and stitch that down so I can have that invisible look. So now I have that sewn down on both sides. There's the zipper. And so now we're going to add the hem to this dress, and I'm just going to measure up about 1 inch, and then I'm going to fold that up, and then I'm just going to pin this down all the way around the dress, and then sew it with one straight stitch. Here's the hem. And now to finish it off, you're just going to want to measure on your body how long you want these straps to be, and then you're going to want to take it to your machine and sew it from there. So make sure you have it where you want it to rest, and just stitch across where you think it should be. And there's your dress. I made a hat and a mask to match, and I think this looks super cute. I love the way it looks. It's very Y2K, very Brandy Melville, and I just love it. I hope you do too. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Bye!